jokes, everybody ripping back on Des because then we can finally bully him.
That's their history. Now, obviously, we find ourselves into Dostoyevsky, and as they put it on the desk, it's one of those maps that's kind of gone through a position where it works well for aggressive people. It works well for aggressive teams, and we've seen a little bit of a change from what the meta was before. And I think that there's not many places on any of the maps that are better at highlighting just how far we've come from what was that ADS burn meta than Pixel on the top floor of Cafe. Is taking control of that shield, taking control of that corner was 2 minutes of burn utility to be able to take the rest of the top floor. That's a quick process now. And that is, if you wanted a dissection of a single interaction, that is what has changed. It is taking control of Pixel and how teams have rotated that. Let's see if that aggro carries over.
It definitely is. We used to know Pixel as the power position, you would say, right? Like, there's a shield, there's an ADS, there's a couple of my magnets right there. It's almost impossible to go through. You literally have to use every single piece of utility to take care of that. That's no longer. And I think that by the moment that we will be having Flores, for example, which just is the new operator that got announced, of course, in lockdown for now, like waiting to be put in the field, he's going to be making these power positions even more problematic right now. So we will see less and less of these pixel kind of angles to come through. But hey, we've come a long way, and let's see if we are going to be seeing any of that Aruni play soon.
I mean, we got a bit of a taste. We got a taste of the new in the previous map, so we're going back a little bit to the old school, and I guess it was one of those things that was often cited about CIS teams, is they know what they do, and they do that process well. And that was what Empire brought to maps like Contour, and brought that consistency of approach. And I guess it's the curiosity of, is that something that rolls over into the new stretch and stress of the meta? Is that something where we start to see them kind of really stretching their legs with the operators that they now have access to? Time will tell, but it's starting off with us cooking up some trouble inside the kitchen itself. A fairly standard hold, as it seems to be so far, doubling down on the intel. I love the player cams. Rask super close to
Hello there.
a real tight angle there.
This is what he's going to be having to hold quite often, probably in this match. And as we're waiting for this setup to be coming down, we do see the Banshee quickly being deployed right there, but we didn't see the second freezer wall being reinforced. That's most likely due to the fact that they might want to put in a rotation there any second now, just to give a bit of an extra pressure point. So that's exactly what's happening. And even if they would drop the hatch and didn't take care of the Banshee, that will still slow them down. So really good use right there.
Well, a steady approach to the top floor is where they're going to make sure they control all of the aspects of the roam here, as they're putting a bit of a pinch on the close garage entrance and the small bakery too. It's a bit of a stress press here as they make sure that they can make anybody that's playing around that central core of the bottom of the pillar stairs towards the cocktail lounge, they're not in a safe space. And they're going to be steadily pressured here as we see Dan go for a little bit more of an aggressive entry. Seems as though they haven't quite find anybody that's on the loose, as they've set themselves up with a very threaded hold all across that ground floor. WTG playing far off in small bake with the Echo drones potentially as a modicum of support, but it seems like it's just waiting and watching, and if he gets caught out, he might be the first point of contact.
Have to say quick movements here for Empire, though. Normally it takes about 45 seconds to a minute to clear out a floor in terms of droning and making sure really nobody is there. But at the 2-minute mark, they were already starting to open stuff up. As you see, the hatch has been opened up. You see some vertical play coming down. Really smart usage here of that breaching charge, opening up both the wall and the flooring right after it. That's with the new explosive mechanism that has been introduced by, well, I think about a year from now with the new fragmentation. But it allows for openings like that to be made. And this means that the pressure is now onto VP. The vertical angles will be created. There's no one that has the opportunity to try and roam. And that means that, well, they will just have to sit tight and hope that they can hold them off for just long enough.
Rask is looking for a little bit of a trouble as a response around the opposite side, but otherwise can't quite find the mark. Oh, there's Pasha. He's able to do it in his own terms instead, always the first to suffer the firefight as it starts to compress itself against that freezer wall. They have themselves a little bit of a support line again that curves all the way around the bottom of this floor, but at the same time there's only so long the Empire players can have themselves set up on the top. Drops the shield to make sure they have a little bit more wiggle room as they go for the approach, but Rask is the one that's keeping them at bay for now. Can't quite get past the bottom of the staircase and can't quite get round the corner to stop Milon, so they're going to have to try a slightly different plan. And with only 20 seconds, it's drop in the hatch and get some success. There's the cover of the smoke and the rotation around the side. Sounded like Milon heard it. The C4 unfortunately didn't quite catch it, and there's bodies inside the site. Joystick finds one, swings, tries to get the back cover onto Milon though, but they can't quite get the deep shot all the way to the bakery. Oh, yes, they can. Dan is the man that's able to find the plan, and now they have the cover deep and buried. They're putting the diffuser down inside sync, but Rask is the man that's on top of that with no time left. Virtus.pro got the kill they needed to in a round that seemed almost out of reach.
Okay, so we saw the plank going down there, Fluke, and it was on that Kali, and they went off it due to the fact that they knew, all right, one is coming in from the hallway, one is going to be going for that peak. However, what he didn't know is that the Jaeger actually had no ID. They couldn't see him. They knew he was there, but they couldn't spot the hat, so they could have just as well gone for the plant right there, but of course decided to go off. Also, I want to go back a bit earlier into that round. You heard the C4 explode. That was due to the fact that they probably expected them to be dropping through that hatch, but they didn't at that moment yet. They were baiting with the smoke. They were baiting with the one man still near the white stairs, trying to put some pressure down. And as soon as it exploded, they dropped the hatch. They took the site. They just weren't able to hold it. They weren't able to get that bomb plant down. And that means VP now in the lead, 1-0.
I mean, it was a situation where Empire had to take a chance. They'd lost a lot of time and, well, unfortunately, it came back to bite them in the end. I said that the Echo in Smallbake might be the first encounter, but he was happy. He was still, and we saw the pop-off of the drone at the end there. If Rask hadn't made the shot, well, the Echo drone would have made quick work of that plant either way. But to the top floor we go instead, and Team Empire, well, they have a little bit more working for them in that they might not have to do an entire clear of the rest of the map this time. They've spent a lot of time making their way all the way from the top down to find every single body on the bottom floor. Sure, they learned that lesson quite quick, but here it's often a lesson you don't really have to learn because the take is very often the same. Get in on that new balk, get locked down on red stairs, and push from there.
Yeah, it kind of changed over the years because we knew back in the old cafe as well, and that started this cafe would often be centralized around the piano hold. You try and take control of that as soon as possible and work from there. But as teams started to deploy more and more defensive utility towards the actual piano, started to open up these long lines of sight, which are making it kind of uncomfortable to play there. We see it shift more and more towards the actual new Belk and potential skylight drop. Hatches are being opened up, though, with a C4 coming out. Do you see that 1 HP right there? Just not picking up the DBNO state. But this might actually be better instead of the DBNO. Because the DBNO, of course, would have been 20 HP in a reset. Maybe one more bullet of one of those SMGs. Now you're surely going to be taking them out of the action once you're actually going into those final 50 seconds or so.
Only ADS onto Skylight, and look and see how they can apply some pressure onto Piano. The steady drop has come on the top of red, as I called before, but there's still concern of the body that's lurking around inside Library. They have a bit of a stretch on the roam this time around. In Virtus.pro, they're more than able and capable of applying some aggression. There's actually two bodies. Kajeka, obviously the new body to step in against the old team that he used to call home, is trying to make quick work and trying to impress on a debut that I guess he really wants to after how things went on Rogue. But Dan is able to start putting pressure onto the bar from here, creeping around the corner and pushing Rask further down White Corridor. They've been able to solidify a little bit more control, but it's still against 5 standing Virtus.pro players. And with a minute passing almost now, it's not a great situation.
And that bathroom really is the new power position instead of Pixel right now, and that's why they are taking care of it this effectively. However, I'm kind of wondering, there's 2 people going down on the roam. There's 50 seconds. You see a flank coming up from the red stairs. I might be able to pick up someone any second from now, but with 50 seconds left, Empire need to move, and they will do so by picking up that first kill. Now they just have to be careful to not be flanked, which is exactly what they're doing, and it's a 5-on-3, 40 seconds execute phase.
Shepard finds Rask, and Karjek is able to put a little bit of damage down beneath, but that is one body confirmed on site, and they can really apply some pressure now. They catch Scyther on the rotation and look to the top of White to see if they can stop him on a further approach, but 20 seconds and Milan is suffering pressure on the opposite side. Karjeka is able to put another body down. It's a 3 versus 2 all on the top floor. They get aggressive and Dan picks up the trade of 2 versus 1, 13 seconds. Karjeka has a rough idea on where one is, but Shepard has an overwatch.
Just moving in there with the sniper. Seems like they were aware indeed, as you see, move. Actually didn't spot him in first sight. As you saw a little bit of the shoulder of the Jaeger right there through the wall. Not responding to that yet. Empire able to make some quick frags happen. They were able to shut down the roamers effectively. Or maybe Karjeka, who was the only one who managed to find himself back up onto that top floor, able to pick up a kill and eventually be the last man standing. But can I quickly, I'm not sure if Ace and Des did it already, but pull some attention towards our overlay or the UI on the top. It's not the one that we see during the round. That is incredible for sure as well.
There's
but do you see that on the right top? The live ranking.
Both currently second.
Both currently second due to the tie position. We had a win before, so logical. Now, if at any moment in time doesn't seem to work, we blame Lesto because he is the one that takes care of it.
Is that chat needs to get involved in as well?
Yeah, just blame Lesto if it isn't right.
Okay.
He's our beautiful admin today, so also give him some love. Oh, he's getting involved right now. But back to the actual round, as of course also the nice new addition to this season, the player cams. Yeah, everybody seems to be quite happy about that.
Player cams.
New season, new
season, new UI, new shiny things, and also the utility count across the top as well, which is really cool to see. It obviously shows how many drones are still standing, which is sometimes a little bit of a tough fact to follow, but that is a very valuable resource and one that, well, now we know that there's 2 of 7 that are currently active, and it's just these little changes, these little bits are going to make all of our lives a little bit better. Also, you know, there's some of you may have explored the new replay system. That's a side thing, though. That's a content for a later day. What they need to do now, though, start trying to apply the pressure to the top floor. This is a very top-heavy hold for a lot of teams, and we've already seen Empire go for that familiar take that a lot of teams do across Cafe, which is where you lock in all the way across the top, push your way down, and steadily kind of clear and control the map as you might do on a place like Consulate. But here, there's a little bit more rotation possibility for Virtus.pro. They've dug in. Aruni's on the board. They have a lockdown and an angle and an idea of what they want to do buried above the site itself, with control of White falling to the hands of Milan, Pasha, and Rask offering a little bit of support either side. But from this point onwards, it's who can kind of win these initial firefights.
2 minutes on that clock. You see that Aruni, Des talked about it before, and Ace as well. Like, you could be very grading, you know, in the like together with a castle, for example. But just like solo like that as well, it is going to be slowing down the attack quite a little bit, as right now the Selmas are deploying. They're trying to create some of these angles right here. They're not allowed to do so yet. There's some vertical holes placed, as you can see right here. WTG has the opportunity to try and deny those Selmas and any other breaching charges to be used. And that means that Empire needs to adapt right now. They need to find a different way in, because they're not going to be able to make those positions unplayable by just simply opening them up. And what they choose to do now is to take care of that Aruni laser gate, and are trying to go and make sure that they can get a push in.
Wow, that was a misuse of Carlier. But hey, it's still able to try and put the pressure with the ace as the Selma steadily cracks some angles and forces Pasha into a slightly worse position, but well, that's even worse. Dropped by a frag grenade from inside the freezer, and no way to really picking up right now as Joystick is going to apply the pressure down White. No, Milan pulled away the few seconds he had as an option, and now is able to get back into position to try and swing onto Joystick. Pasha, though, with a C4, is the one that's able to lock it off back from the dead and causing death to the zone. There's the swing round the corner as Scyther and Joystick find one apiece. They have the top floor control, but they only have 30 seconds, so they have to start looking down beneath. The bodies are moving and rotating rotating around the middle of the two sites in Zulu. Joystick is having none of it, though. Finds Kajeka. Milon still upstairs. Still finds one. Still finds two. Is able to get maybe the third. Swings with a pistol.
Oh
And there it is. Milon with the triple kill. Pulls the entire round back into their favor. Shepard, you slipped down underneath. Caught on a camera. They know where you are. You have the diffuser, but you also still have two bodies left to get through. Swings and goes for the potential of a firefight. Has to stick the plan at this point, and you assume this is an easy pickup.
Safe KD.
He
saved KD right there. He just went off. He knew it was not winnable anymore in that moment in time. But I was going to say, at the moment you said, like, they have top floor control, I was like, well, you're still going to be careful from that Milon dude. You know, we kind of hyped him up a little bit during a pre-show. He's still hiding up there, and that does mean he can show up. And yes, he does have the P10 Roni. It is a high rate of fire gun with a low magazine capacity, and normally do not really last more than 2 kills out of that. Exactly that happened. He manages to get one, he gets the down on the other, swaps over to the pistol. Remember, it's always faster than reloading, and he gets that third kill there as well, saving that round there for VP, because otherwise that surely should have been Empire's, because you said only 30 seconds left. Correct, but that should be plenty of time to go for an execute. It is plenty of time if there isn't a Milon just wrecking you apart from the top.
2-1. Virtus.pro, you've regained some semblance of control there, but it came off the back of a 3K of a man dug into a corner, claws out. But last time you were at Kitchen, things were successful too. In fact, they were kind of not really tested. You still had 2 lines of defense left for the attempt at the plant, including the Echo, and Rask, who just swung in from the kitchen door, was able to get the lockdown from Long Red Corridor. So I'm assuming more of the same here, as they still find themselves up with a double down on intel and information from Kajeka and WTG, but at the same time it was a threaded hold all the way across that ground floor. I'm curious to see if they go for an extension, or if we see Empire go a little bit quicker and sharper to the punch, and maybe try and isolate some of the bodies of Virtus.pro in slightly different angles.
All right, for 5v5. We are just getting started. There's an IQ on the board right now that should be helpful, taking out those yokais. Of course, they're no longer invisible, right? So they need to be hidden now. You cannot just stick them to the roof mindlessly and they will be invisible. No one will bother about them until you start using them. And that's exactly what you see WTG do. He's hiding those yokais into these spots behind radios, behind other clutter in the map that will make it hard for attackers to find. Now, then, when it's actually coming down to an execute phase, they're coming out and then they're annoying. So bringing the IQ that allows you to deal with them a little bit beforehand, giving you those extra 10 seconds to actually focus on gunfights rather than finding the yokai.
Milon is shepherded and pushed all the way down, and yet again they have themselves set up in similar positions that they wanted to control before. But it seems like they've been a little bit quicker in locking down control of the White Staircase instead of taking over pillars, which is now the second piece of this puzzle. But there's still all the bodies left standing and still a lot left to take out and push through, and it's a steady pickup of information and intel that Empire are working on at this moment. Joystick pulls back, starts to try and drone ahead, make sure nobody's playing on the left swing, well aware that somebody's going to be playing on the right, so it's up to the verticality, see if they can force some people into slightly less comfortable positions. A C4 is ripped, torn, blown, but doesn't quite catch anybody, and it's this steady cracking down of angles that might start to apply some pressure to Virtus.pro.
Only one more C4 available right now, and we do know that Empire really wants to go for these vertical plays right here, but it's just no longer safe to try and challenge it. So many angles have been opened up right now. You now see the IQ hunting for the yokais and other electronic gadgets as well to try and take them out. But so far, they're not able to find any yet. Grenade, I believe, was being tossed in to trying to take care of the evil item. Might put some, dirt into their plans at the moment of execution, as there's only 40 seconds left. So that means they do need to hurry now. And Pasha is still quite aggressive right here, trying to go for a gunfight. And with 35 seconds left, if he manages to find one, that will be huge.
That's it, he's trying to get aggro. They're looking at the angle, and Joystick puts bullets into Rask, who doesn't need to take the firefight. Pasha didn't need to take that either, and Dan is able to find the first. Milon gets revenge, dug in round the corner. They can't quite shepherd him out, though, as of yet, as Shepard is the one that's removed. Now, though, Dan has crept his way in through the hatch. He's concerned about all the eyes and intel and information, but takes the firefight against the Echo from deep either way. The wub-wubs stop, but at the cost of the life as Rask finds the trade and finds the pickup now, though. Swinging in to try and get the diffuser back into their hands. They have to try and stick it, but there's a drone, there's a ping, and there's a second Virtus.pro kitchen.
Wanted to go for the plan there. All your teammates fell already in that moment in time, and the Yokai drone was just a bit of overkill right there. As you said, they take care of the Banshee, but at what cost as he got taken out right after? Of course, also forces or really functions as a information device rather than just a nuisance for the attacking team that will slow them down and make some noise. Knew exactly where they were going to be coming from. Allows you to go for a very accurate peek right there. But we are in 1-3 currently. VP is leading on Cafe so far. And to be fair, Cafe, it's what we considered a very defense-sided map when the map just came out. 5-1s or 6-0s weren't all too uncommon to see. And we are now in that 1-3. It's starting to flatten out a bit more, right? 4-2s are often the scoreline we do see in favor of the defenders. You occasionally have a 3-3, but VP, they are definitely well on the way of trying to make that, well, big, lead happen. They're trying to work on that. They're trying to put the pressure on Empire. And if you have 3 rounds already and are going back to the top 4, now you have a very good opportunity of doing so.
Well, Virtus.pro, let's see how you approach this problem. Obviously, we've seen some pretty good burns of utility, and we've seen some moments that could lead to Empire getting some slivers and successes. This was one, but as I said, maybe it ties into how they love to traditionally take control of maps, how they like to traditionally take control of spaces. Still running pretty similar and standard lineups to how they were working things before. There's a lot of slowing movement and momentum. Obviously in the hands of the defenders, they have the Aruni, they have Malusi, they have the smoke possibility too to cut them off at the potential pass, and the pinches haven't really been going into the favor of Empire, a team that is usually very coordinated on their day and able to really just pull individual players and push them into uncomfortable situations. So far, they haven't quite had that success. Rask waiting to deliver the present right under the Christmas tree, but no Empire players are close enough to receive it. Instead, delivers bullets.
You know, you can always do that one. You can always go for the bullets, and indeed. And with 2 minutes left, I was going to be talking about the fact how Empire was a team we mentioned before we prefaced it, and we said, like, they didn't make changes. Is that going to be helping them? Is that going to be giving them the edge? And on the other hand, we've been saying Virtus.pro are starting to take over that top spot in the CIS region. They've been doing so over 2020. They're looking to continue that, and it definitely seems like they're on the way right now. Virtus.pro look quite strong on the, one round that Empire managed to win as an exception, and they just got to make sure that they continue doing so right now. Those entry kills that they just managed to get, just those nice tight angles, are definitely going to be helping you. And Kozeka, even though he doesn't have like many kills yet, he's definitely having a very good impact so far.
Now, it's always worth considering, obviously, the way that they're handling the momentum of the game. And Virtus.pro, they're a team that when things are in their court, they get so much more confident and deliver so much more. And you tie that into the fact that Empire opted to attack first, and I'm curious if this is in their book going to plan. And when they swap over to their defense, they'll find themselves a lot more locked in and controlled. Dan shuffles his way around and is obviously trying to look towards the bathroom, as was their next point of call before. Without Joystick, who's been able to put some bodies down so far, it's going to come at the cost of a hop out of Pasha. Malusi got aggressive and found no success. Kozeka is toying with the idea of going for a little bit of revenge, but it's how aware the drone game might be. You have a dedicated droner and eyes and intel, and oh yeah, seemingly they're well aware.
They are well aware indeed. Pasha watching the wrong way. Dan definitely not right now. Trying to take control of Piano, pushing through. There's a lot of long angles right there going directly into that A-bomb site. And as they find out that the bathroom is clear, this is going to be giving a huge fresh breath of air for them right now. They can freely move along right here. They don't have to worry about someone suddenly popping up with the shotgun, but they do have to worry about the long angles that are currently in place. 20 seconds left. Always is looking to repel in, and they have to go now.
Charges through to the Banshee and tries to dig it onto the freezer, but can't quite keep their cool as they stick the diffuser down with only a sliver of health left. 10 seconds and takes the firefight themselves. The smoke canister doesn't quite catch them. Dug in on the corner of the plant. Somehow goes down, and Dan somehow finds a double before WTG gets the trade, and Scyther gets one more back in their favor. Kozeka looked for the run out early on, couldn't quite find it. Now he's all that's left. Now nobody is. Team Empire from nothing finds success. and find their second win on the top floor.
I was just talking about how they had to go at that moment in time. They definitely did, and I was looking at it, and it was a very interesting setup we saw there from Virtus.pro, right? We saw very long angles being created. Of course, they weren't really held at that moment in time, and also Empire didn't really have the intention of taking full control of the likes of Piano. But that kind of gives away the game, right? If you're not contesting Piano, no one is there. You don't have to worry about it. You maybe put a flank drone up, something like that, just to be aware if someone pushes through. But the round where they kept it close, it stayed a little bit of a surprise, I have to say, right? It was one in the bathroom. They had to actively work on clearing him out. And there was none of that now. You basically gave them a bunch of extra time trying to push the plan out, because that was basically the issue. They wanted to force plans so many times. They weren't able to do it. This was the first plant we've seen over these last 5 rounds. And that was basically, I think, due to the fact that they had extra time. They didn't need to clear Freezer. They didn't need to clear the bathroom because everything was already opened up. Extra time means going for that plant.
Rotating round to reading to see if they can find the same story they had before, and it was of a triumphant 3k of a man left to his own devices on the top floor. They are still playing that heavy game up here and making sure that they lock off with all the solidity that they had previously, but it was picked step by step well by Empire. As I said, it really came down to the heroics of Milan. 7-2 throughout this game so far. Hey, remember at the beginning of the day when we highlighted him as a really standout player? Yeah, it's sometimes nice when things we say are true.
Sometimes they do not cast a curse, right? I know it's rare. Normally, everything we say, the opposite happens. But today, so far, it has been going quite well. Yet in the previous game, Blast needed to be shut down. Saves and Doki were the ones to do so. They did so perfectly. This game, we said Milan, he's one of those best players in the league right now. And he's starting to show up. Even though, of course, some rounds are getting lost, they are still in the lead, and that's what matters.
Now they find themselves yet again based on the precipice and the mantle of swinging in to get this control on the top floor. As I said, it is standard, and I feel like I'm repeating myself because, well, that's the take. It's a repetitive take, and we've already talked about how some teams, when they find themselves doing the same thing over and over, other teams that have a little bit more creativity and curiosity in their gameplay on the day, and most importantly confidence, start being able to find holes, get aggressive, get confident, get wins. And well, it's down to Empire to try and get this locked off as a 3-3 even half. If they do, they can really put themselves in a good stead swing over to their defense. Always swings his way through to the freezer to cut through the core of the site itself and make sure they have the angle from the door if need be. They're going to try and crack their way through the same way they did before. Pasha obviously went down but was picked back up and able to get a bit of revenge, just juggling claws across the walls to make sure that they stop the approach of those Selmas. But it's this quick careen all the way up to the core of Scyther as he gets aggro towards that Banshee.
Rask being taken into the DBNO state, but he's allowed to fall back right behind the bar, so the kill will not be there. The grenade, however, will confirm it, even though it landed on the wrong side. Brings us to that 5v4 position right now. 1 minute left on the clock. C4s are raining out, and Milan is thinking about dropping down, and he will have to. There's no other option to stay. He cannot stay safe up there, and as more C4s are starting to come out, it looks like Empire this time does indeed have that top floor control. So now they can use this in those last 40 seconds to try and go for the push. The Scyther gets the first kill. Milan will be getting another going down, and that brings us to a 5v3 situation. Again, the same situation we had the last time around in reading when Empire actually lost a round.
Milan caught unaware, unfortunately, and Pasha almost suffers the same fate, toying with a sliver of health as he pushes up red, but was caught by the roam cover. There's the close swing, and there's almost a win on his favor. Realizes he's put some fear in, but unfortunately, Dan is, well, fearless. Now, though, Karjeka holding a big angle from the pillar stairs, swings up, gets one, gets caught by a quick-thinking Kali, and now it's all down to a smoke that's trying to keep control in Zulu in the core of the site, takes down one, but there is the pickup, and there is an even attack for Empire, which even 2 rounds ago didn't look so hopeful.
Didn't look hopeful indeed, and this is exactly what they will need to try and push on. I said it before, 4-2 is the more even split we see nowadays for the defense, and Empire able to pick up that one extra round is going to be absolutely huge. That is going to be allowing them to potentially swing it in their favor, as if they manage to get 3 rounds on that defense, you secure yourself 1 point. It all has changed, right? There's no more draws. We don't do any of that anymore. We were feeling sorry for Chaos, and we decided, you know what, we're starting to remove it. And, well, then unfortunately they relegated out. But if they ever manage to find themselves back, they will no longer have to deal with draws. The thing what we do now is we have overtime. If you manage to get 6 points, you're at least guaranteed 1 point, just like the draws. If you then win in overtime, you get 2 points. The loser will still get 1. That means no more points are getting lost in draws, which gives us a more competitive, higher competitive league format that should keep everybody on their toes.
Empire, you're able to restructure and rebuild from when things looked a little bit weak at the foundations. However, this is now your bastion to reconstruct, and let's see if your gamble of going attack first was as calculated as they assumed on the desk. 3-3 is a fantastic split in old school books, but we're in a new school meta with a huge heap of new style aggression. And if anybody loves to play that aggression game, Virtus.pro are definitely one of the names that is often up there. So will we start to see a little bit more of that familiar swing and success story that they often played before?
3-3 indeed. Drones are being hunted. You can see on the right top right now, there's only 5 left. How does this work? All right, 6 in pocket, 1 on the board. That's okay. So that it's kind of confusing to look at it for the first time, right? The number on the left is the amount on the board actually deployed, and the amount on the right are still in pocket. So right now you see 2 deployed, 5 in pocket. That means 3 are deployed. That's quick mathematics right here, right there.
Quick maths and quick kills. Rask, the first to suffer before they could even get in. The Twitch is taken care of, and that's going to make all those electrics, well, much more electric from the claws of Kaid. And a little bit of trouble. They obviously went with a different approach to the Kali that was played consistently by Team Empire, and, well, now they've got to try and pick apart the pieces without that bit of last control. So, steady droning across the top of red as they try and pick up any idea of how someone suffered so quickly. It has seemingly shaken their confidence now, though, as none of them seem too idealistic on let's all drop in and lock it down.
And they don't really want to go for that drop down quick. You don't want to risk it. You want to make sure that you have enough control before you're actually committing to that final push. And they do have the first kill. They did take down... no, they do not have the first kill. They already lost 1 then. So that means they need to make up for it. They need to get 1 and then another 1 in return to get that man advantage. The grenades are being tossed in, but unfortunately, there's no one there to pick up. So it could be that utility just got taken out right there. Think of a Banshee. Think of a potential Evil Eye. Anything like that they still will have to deal with 1 operator less this time.
Dan wants to swing around the corner with the shotgun, but knows that there's no point until they have a bit of a better idea just how close they are. The frag grenade rolls deep to joystick, scratches. The big man Maestro is able to keep standing. Scyther opens up a bullet hole angle, a little bit too much there, and suffers the revenge of Milon, who's keeping an angel overwatch from above. Pasha wants to creep in on the close corners, but without the cover from the opposite side, it makes it an exceptionally risky maneuver. Knows there's a body inside, takes the first, looks for the swing of the second, but it doesn't actually come through. Dan is able to hold the angle down as someone else fills in on the closer side. Pre-fires round the wall. Dan is round a corner to safety. There's a drop of intel, there's a drop of an Ash, and there's a 4 versus 3 with 20 seconds left. Their body inside is gone, but they were able to cause some problems before. Now, stressed for time as they try and put the diffuser in, goes for the long smokes to cover any movement. Doesn't cover that though. Scyther swings onto 1. WTG and Milon with revenge apiece. 2 versus 2 trying to stick the diffuser, but there's a rotation around the back stairs. Milon has to find 1 more. No! Couldn't quite hit the shots. He lay on the floor of a bathroom. Do not recommend, unless it's to win the round of siege.
So Empire, for the first time right now in this match, is going to be finding themselves in the lead as they are grabbing that 4th round. Just picking up the, basically preventing that final kill to come through. He was really close. He was just out of ammo. Wasn't able to put that up. And I was going to say, default cam still up. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, right? because that actually lost them 1 or 2 players right there. It was 30 seconds left. They didn't shoot the default cam that is overlooking the entire side. It's a rookie mistake. Milan almost made up for it right there with the sledge, but they just weren't able to get that final kill in. And thus Empire running away with that round, only needing 2 more to get 1 point, only needing 3 more to secure themselves their first victory, and ending up on that 2nd place right now due to round differential.
This was a sight that stumped them, but, well, now they have the option of locking it down themselves. Obviously, they have, as you said, for the first time, found themselves 1 foot ahead of Virtus.pro, and they want to try and build on this momentum. 3 rounds have been tied in a row from their side so far, so can the success story carry down to the one site that seemed to evade them on their attacks across the board? Going for a similar extension as we saw from VP. They have themselves, with that rotation into the bakery, they have this very thorough thread that ties across all of the bottom of this ground floor. They have as well, obviously, the Echo on the board. No Maestro to double down on that intel, but instead they have the smoke, which can be so controlling if you know how your opponents like to play.
The smoke indeed is like one of those operators that has basically never left the meta due to the fact it has 3 canisters, basically killing you slowly if you hide among them, and thus effectively denying an area for about 45 seconds in a round. And often, back when the 20-second meta was active, especially, you would have to bait out those smokes quite early on in the round if you actually wanted to make an execute happen, and it didn't always work out because the smoke players knew exactly what was going to be going on. But still, very effective. We saw a couple of kills coming down already, I believe, today on the back of smoke canisters. And, well, they always do their job well. And it's also, most of the time, the players that make a lot of clutches on the side of the teams, the smoke players, that is.
That's it. You need a reliable smoke player, and, well, they have one of the best in the world in Shepard. So I guess you couldn't really ask for any more. Dan is the one that's playing that hard angle on the corner of the bar to make sure nobody can careen down white stairs and push themselves straight into freezer. And I guess as we saw from before, it's a steady control of the upper floor to see if they can catch anybody unaware through the many angles that they're opening. But this is a tried and tested true method. They're well aware of the places that they can dig themselves in, and you can see the information is passing very quickly. Now, though, the pressure on the drones start to come for the first time, really, across the bakery. Curious to see, and WTG is the one that's going to lead the swing in the firefight round. There is a second body to try and pinch onto the Jaeger, and a third if they need to pick up the trade, but always has doubled down to offer some support. Instead of going for that freezer hold, they're instead going to rotate and see if they can get control of the bakery side instead.
This is definitely going to be a tough gunfight right there. We have one of them playing from above Milan, just holding a long angle, holding off any potential rotation to come in as always right now, hoping to find the first gunfight. But so far, not picking up any kills yet. A ton of utilities, however, being tossed right behind the cupcake bar, along with grenades, along with ash charges, along with Zofia concussion mines, and everything you can imagine as it gets double peak right now. There comes the kill from always. That's the opening to the round, and they will manage to follow that one up. Empire on a roll so far this round.
2 quick pickups either side, and they're able to entirely pull apart the pastry that wasn't quite as delicious as Virtus.pro had hoped to get control of the side of this site. Couldn't take freezer and couldn't take the cool calm side either, and there's one more for the Jaeger. Scyther keeps himself locked in on the dog across the corner. Rask, 5 seconds to get downstairs. Milan still hasn't made it himself and won't go any further. A triple for one man, and at least a saved KD for the other. Virtus.pro stumped by the cooking.
The bakery right there, a high point of contest. Weren't able to make sure that they got control of it. They lost the gunfights, and unfortunately, you cannot take control with dead people. As we have a tactical timeout being called by Virtus.pro, I believe. Good moment.
Good moment.
Very good moment.
Yeah, so if you're unaware, hey, we got tactical timeouts now. We have a pause timer inside the menu. We're able to stir the pace of a game, which otherwise we were only able to do on land before. So why now? Well, you're not quite on map point, but you are definitely on the receiving end of 4 rounds that have gone to your opponents. And if you're on map point and that continued over the team talk, well, then it's game over. At least this way, if the next one goes wrong, you have 2 chances to build upon what is, well, not really working for VP right now.
Yeah, so they're currently 5-3 behind, obviously, and that means that this next round is crucial, right? You do not want to fight for overtime. You want to fight for the win within the 7 rounds, like first to 7. And thus, to make that happen, you need to time out now. Clearly, something is not going right. After round 4, they haven't won a single round anymore because, round 5, 6, 7, and 8, they all went to Empire purely based onto a lot of the gunfights going their way right there. So is this something that is just setup-wise wrong? Is this something that is going wrong in the communications? You need to find out what it is. And that team talk, that tactical timeout that you have the opportunity to use this season is going to be key for that. The coach is watching, and he's going to be like, guys, chill down. Let's take this as round number 1. Let's just go back into it. Take off the pressure for just a second. And let's try and take back the momentum ourselves.
Wow. It also gives time for Empire to talk, and I guess it's a lot of, hey, the plan's going. This was obviously their play and ploy to start on their attack and finish on their defense. As we said, it's usually and historically a confidence play. It's, we know that we can do enough on our attack that will demoralize them, so when they get to their attack on a map like this, where for a lot of players and teams it's harder to attack, or they're less confident doing it, it means their attacks are even less confident. It means they're more prone to taking these big risk maneuvers, and that plays perfectly into a well-oiled machine that Empire can be. 5-3, and as I said, 4 of those have been in a row. Now they're going to see if they can lock off the perfect rotation to put themselves onto map point here. A lot of intel, a lot of a spread across the top floor, as we've seen from, well, pretty much everybody. Let's see if it can work with the same success for Empire as it did for Virtus.pro.
Gotta look at it right here and say it's a little bit of a Milan versus Scyther show if you look at it purely at the frags right there, right? So when Milan was still playing upstairs, he was able to get some great flanks off, but he's lately in these last couple of rounds not allowed to do so anymore, and that might be costing Virtus.pro rounds. I think the one example that I have for that is going to be the round number 3, where it was a 5v3 that the site was reading, and suddenly Milan was still up there. He was still up on top, and he was able to shut down 3 members of Empire with that Roni, with that pistol, and basically won the round for Virtus.pro right there. Afterwards, he was taken out quite quickly in many of the defensive rounds, wasn't able to have that kind of impact anymore. And even though he was the last one alive, I believe in round number 7, the damage was already done right there at the last couple of seconds. So Milan is a key player, but they might be relying a little bit too much on him having an impact in the early round, which will be holding them back throughout this match so far.
WTG takes a face full of pellets, but is able to stay alive and wants to pressure this angle continually. We're having a bit of a stretch here, and Karjeka drops down. The run out was attempted from underneath, but it didn't quite come to success. Hits the stun on themselves. Karjeka finds a second, though. They really double down on trying to get control of that window, and unfortunately double down on loss. 2 of them swinging on a single angle, and Rask is the one that's able to solidify it and then get one more too. It seems like Virtus.pro, whatever they had on their team talk, is really working right now. Well aware of the games that are being played by Empire, and well aware of how to shut them down, and well aware of where Shepard is too. Can't quite find any sense or solace of safety as he swings around multiple different angles. There's one more that's been open for you and has to try and cool off with the washing, and cuts through Pasha on the route to. Big rotation towards the pillar stairs in a completely new angle of lockdown, but Karjeka is sticking the diffuser in the meantime, and Milan isn't even going to let that happen. Virtus.pro, hey, they're back.
This is exactly where that tactical timer is meant for. You talk, try and find out what's going wrong, your coach has some input, and suddenly it's all going better. I don't know what it is, but it seems to be working so often. And right now you see it here as well. Virtus.pro went to 5-4, currently 1 round away from getting it back into equal numbers again, and then it will be a sprint race to the end, to the first one to reach 7 or 8, depending on whether or not we will go to overtime or not. And let's see if they can keep up this momentum. Let's see if they can continue going on that little bit of a pep talk they probably just got from their coach that is definitely seeming to put them back in here.
Well, bar cocktail, we head to the top, baits the Kali to the Twitch. As I said before, that was one of the differences between the angles of approach of these two, and also, unfortunately, Rask was the first off the board, so we didn't really see any of the control of electronics approach that could have been in the hands of Virtus.pro, and because of that, they suffered, stumbled, and found themselves kind of just throwing themselves across the long bar and seeing if they could swing aggressively at anyone and everyone. Okay, it came down to the wire, but still, let's see what they can do at full strength if that Twitch can get a little bit deeper into the round.
All right, 5-4. Pretty big first matchup. It is a regional rivalry that they're trying to battle out right here. The two CIS teams, of course, inside of the EUL. Now they have been bested by the French this time, considering they have 3 teams up into the EUL this time. It's going to be fun, couple of matches for sure. But hey, it is an important round. Round number 10. Are they going to be able to bring that same fire that they were able to bring in round number 9? If they're going to be able to do so, we might just see them completely change and swap that momentum into their favor. As Rask is really close up though that screen, he's definitely going to be trying to try and hit some nasty shots onto the players of Empire who are hoping to reach that 6 right now.
He's not going to suffer through the hatch this time round. A lot of pre-firing is coming down from the guns of VP, making sure that they're able to control the pressure that is applied on the verticality here and keeping a pretty keen eye on anyone that might feel a little bit confident and aggressive to swing all the way around. The Twitch drone, as I said, very important utility, is going to try and catch that Maestro cam and does. There's an ADS, and there is a very big bit of utility that's fallen by the wayside for Empire that was previously well controlled and contested. Sure, they have that bulletproof and they have those Banshees to make sure the Screaming Whale is heard as soon as they swing around the corner, but the confidence this can give VP, well, I guess can be measured in success potentially.
Yeah, we've got about 100 seconds left on that round. Dan now playing in this bathroom. This is what I described earlier as the new power position. No longer is it in Pixel. It is now in that bathroom. It allows you to swing closely with a shotgun as they try and peek through that door. And Dan exactly knowing what's going to be happening soon. Pasha, who is hoping to open up, putting down that breaching charge, is not going to be attracting too much attention, but detonating it surely will. And Pasha, he has to be careful because he knows he's potentially going to get, well, swung on any second now.
Gonna finish trying to take the top off to catch utility and potentially open the ability to pop some of his own utility over the top to really get a control on that wall. In the meantime, they're looking across this big, terrifying open firefight that is that long bar. It is such a no man's land with a big skylight to cap it all off, which means that it's not really comfortable for anybody. Sure, it's the aggressors that need to have the initiative, but at the same time, if certain angles start to slip away, mistakes really build up quickly and cause a terrifying cocktail of problems. But an Eastern take seems to be the angle of approach. Virtus.pro, as they did on the kitchen, going for a big adaptation and rotation and allowing some pressure to be applied either side. However, Empire make sure they lock the doors and the walls there. However, is Rask able to get some revenge with Milon getting 1-2. The quick swing on the first angle and the spray towards the second doesn't catch anybody, always. Is able to apply some underneath, and it's WTG, though, that just swings round, and now it's only the singular player of Empire left on the board. No longer Virtus.pro. Well, even.
I was saying interesting there, Fluke, because WTG was alone in Cigar with the diffuser with only like 20-30 seconds left in that moment in time. All the others were located near the eastern side, all repelling or on the skylight. So, like, I was thinking, like, okay, like, interesting push, right? But normally you wouldn't be putting the diffuser into a state where he's completely alone. And WTG, he fragged out in that round. Let me just first out, clear that up. But I was afraid in that moment in time when I saw WTG sitting in the cigar there alone, that he was going to get picked up as like one of the first casualties in that gunfight. That would force the diffuser to go, like, down, dropped on the ground. And that means someone will have to go and recover. And with everybody coming in from yellow stairs and from the other cocktail side and the new balcony, that could be really tough. It could be really hard. It worked out this time, but they have to be careful with those kind of plays, because if they find out, if people start finding out that the diffuser is split pushing, you know where to focus your attention to.
Well, the adaptations seem to be successful so far since the team talk, but This was one where they tried a similar play and a similar ploy, and they didn't quite have the same story of success. They realized Frieza was a little bit too chilly and uninviting, so instead went towards the deliciousness of the bakery, but only found, well, a Jaeger that really wanted to put as many of them down as possible, and at least found 3, so the adaptation there didn't quite have the same success as we saw the Eastern take do, but that was before the team talk. That was before they were able to get their heads together and really bring some balance back towards the effective levels that they had previously in this game and map and setup. Empire have suffered 2 rounds in a row since that, and they've really kind of lost a little bit of the handle of control that they had in Virtus.pro. They're swinging for the bleachers right now.
Now, good thing to mention, Fluke, is that Empire still have their tactical timeout available to them, and I am almost 100% sure that if this round will go into the way of VP, we are going to be seeing that tactical timeout right after. Take out the momentum a little bit, because it's not just a momentum, like a moment where you can talk to your team, where you can talk to your coach, but it's also a momentum breaker. If that team, if Empire currently back down on 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds in a row, are going quite strong. They have good momentum. You kind of interrupt that by taking that tactical timeout. You basically force them to slow down. And if you don't have a good timeout, if you have a good talk, you're able to swap their momentum. So Empire still has the same opportunity to do just that.
Falling from the top and like rain spreading themselves across all of the gaps as possible, because, well, we know what happens if a Russian player finds themselves a comfortable corner. They start killing, and misdroning and miscontrolling players has not been the biggest storyline of this game, but has been a problem for both teams on different occasions. So it's still a steadiness that they have to apply towards their approach. They are able to start doing some vertical destruction quicker than they did on their previous approach, and they're making sure that they have some of that fire and ferocity and making sure they don't get caught by the rotation. But it does seem like they're kind of going with a singular push this time round. They want to get the control that they want to get, and they're going to make sure that they're in a position to do it quickly.
The one thing I might be worried about is the big difference you see here between Empire and VP. VP had 3 C4s on this side compared to only the 1 that Empire is bringing. Yes, of course, VP, they quite lost a couple of these rounds, but I'm not sure if 1 C4 is going to be enough eventually, especially because you know how much pressure is going to be coming down from that top floor, how much they like to open up. You can use those C4s to try and counter it off. If you use that sound you get from the other vertical holes that have been opened up to try and guide and try and nail down one of those members. Now, that's not happening right now. Only 1 C4 available, and I'm assuming that that one will be used in combination with the yokais to try and cancel out a plant that would potentially be forced by VP in this time.
Well, the Echo drones are still buried, as we saw played before, and making sure that they have some of that control safer in the bakery this time round to be that last wall. And with only 30 seconds, whatever Virtus.pro are going to do, well, they gotta get to it now. As the C4 pops off and WTG is popped out of the map, Joystick is free to rotate a little bit more aggressive onto red. Doesn't want to go any further in case there's a watch on from that window, but the moment he swings round could really put the back against them. Now though, they go in, every smoke seems to be popped, and the diffuser is going to attempt to be stuck. The Echo drone doesn't quite have the angle. A quick pickup rotation and pop, and doesn't quite catch it. A sliver too late. Milon finds the kills in the meantime, and Empire put a lot of faith and always didn't quite have the setup. Goes for the frag and, well, gets 1, but it's a 1 versus 3 after a trade and a drop. The angles are a bit concerning. There's 2 lying close on the right. One of them swings and takes it, and Virtus.pro find themselves on map point first.
You saw him seeking for confirmation right there from one of his teams. Are they right here in the smoke? Are they or are they not? And by waiting for that long, he missed the opportunity of trying to cancel that plant and buy them a little bit of extra time. That forced him into a retake situation, which is then heavily favored by the attackers, having the better guns and the better positions in that moment in time. And that leaves us in match point right now. We don't see a tactical timeout being called by Empire. That means they have the faith that they're going to be able to do it without the help of their coach, without having to break the momentum of Virtus.pro. And, well, if they can do so, it will be recommended or commended by them, because we had round 1 Virtus.pro, then we had 1 for Empire, followed up by 2 by VP, and after that we had Empire just dominating Virtus.pro for 4 rounds in a row. That's when the timeout came from VP. That's when they decided to talk to their coach and be, all right, what needs to change? They broke the momentum of Empire. They managed to take it back. And that's them in the lead right now. That's them on match point right now. They have secured 1 point. They have the opportunity to go for 3, whilst Empire is fighting for a potential of 2.
Well, Empire trusting the process, as you said, and not taking the timeout that they could have, which has obviously been so successful for Virtus.pro, able to thread 3 attacks together. And, well, it seems that Empire are slightly struggling to keep up with the aggressive pace that's being put forward and against them. So they go back to the top, back to a site that they're able to lock down, and back to one where Virtus.pro's adaptation, as I said, was the Cinderella story that took them all the way to the ball being winning the round. Joystick getting aggro and setting up some gates with a Rooney to try and offer some more control here. Look at the windows. The lockdown is there. They have the possibility of getting aggro if they want to, and to just cost any drones or any bits of utility that might get thrown through and try to get some early beats of information.
You see that, as you are describing as well, you see some of the Rooney gates being deployed on that window, on these windows right here on Piano. That is going to be slowing them down just a little bit, but if indeed VP wants to play into that Piano control, which does seem like it, it is going to be slowing them down quite a little bit. I really like this one as well. Just open it up. Of course it's going to be droned out. They try and put some pressure from below right now, so by opening up that hatch, which makes the position unplayable for always, and thus removes the angle that they were playing with that shotgun. And all they need to do right now is take out the Rooney gates, try and take control of Piano, and if they manage to do so successfully, VP has the opportunity and the potential to try and go through. Beautiful shot, though, from Joystick, taking down Pasha, who was in the upside-down rappel. And right now, that is a good advantage for Empire, and the possibility of potentially coming back.
Now then, that's Rask, though, swinging in and able to get across and get against Joystick. The drones are dropping, and with 1:30, they have plenty of time to reevaluate. But the Aruni has already caused so many problems, both in position and presence. But those gates, oh no, always drifts a little bit dangerously to the wire and buys himself a bit of panic time there, but still has 2 canisters left if need be. He is finally the approach of some hard destruction, as always actually drops out and goes for a bit of a big rotate here. Doesn't have, obviously, any potential of C4ing from underneath, but does have a lot of other locations they can set themselves in, and with a minute still on the board and only a bit of the ground taken here on red, it is a really slow approach.
It is a slow approach indeed. However, there is still plenty of time. They're using the drones right now to try and take care of the Rooney gates. They should be aware of the fact that no one can be in that little cabinet anymore over there, because they open up that hatch. There's no way you can play it without falling down. The thing they're more worried about, though, is a jump out just happening right there. But a trade, a one-on-one trade between Milan and Dan is going to be bringing this into a 3-on-3 situation. But that does mean some pressure from the actual side is removed right now. But it's VP that will have to make the next move. It's 30 seconds left on that clock, and they have to make the entry now. They have to get the kills right now. Rask is in Piano. Kurzeka wants to drop through the skyline, and we have one man still rappelling up on the eastern side, I believe, as it's only up to Rask now.
Yeah, it's all down to Kurzeka, who drops in, and well, he's looking to get through Shepard and Scyther. There is 2 pings, 2 very different locations, and a lot of intel still with his name on it. Empire. Well, they take us to our first OT in EUL. Can you believe it?
Now, under the old times, this would have been a 1-pointer for both, but we don't do that anymore. We are changed. We're changed leagues.
Sorry, Chaos. We're
Sorry,
different
Chaos. Now. You should have survived if you wanted to meet.
Okay,
Okay, I'm sorry. Is
that's
that
a bit mean.
A bit morbid?
A little bit. You came across a bit aggressive. It would have been nice if you had survived.
Chaos, I love you.
Because now you wouldn't have suffered all those draws. Because we don't have draws no more. No. So if you missed all of the talking at the beginning, both teams are now guaranteed points. Nobody is an out-and-out loser. If you lose a game in regular play, 0 points. Nothing. Nil. Get out of here. If you get to OT and lose, you still get 1 point for getting all the distance.
And that means, which is probably more important, and I haven't heard mentioned that often, is that there's no more points getting lost.
Yeah. So
There's no more
these close
point that
games-
just floats in the void.
Yeah, these close games, you still get rewarded. Obviously, if you win, you get more. It's 2 points, isn't
Yes.
it? 2 points for an OT win.
Yes.
And 3 points for an
Correct.
out-and-out win. Look at that. There's a system in place. We got it. One of these teams has the potential of getting 1 point. The other has the potential of getting 2. Nobody will walk away on a draw. There's no more draws in EU. Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
No more draws in EU. We're set
We do
up,
have
sorted.
packs.
Let's see some more
Sorry.
Siege. Big rotations. Opened up now. Virtus.pro back on the defense for the first time in a while. And towards the end of their defenses, things started to slip away from them. But Kitchen was the one that they locked down both times. They were able to completely keep it in their favor.
Can we quickly go back to the freezer? I want to highlight the way that they are opening that up. Now, by the way that this is being opened up is, I believe, either you have to vault over or prone underneath. So you force them still to use an explosive if they want to go quickly. There's a Banshee right next to it as well. So it's not, you're forced to take out a bit of utility there, and you're forced to take out a wall if you want to be moving through there, while still having the opportunity for the defenders to rotate through if they really need to. So I kind of like the way that they're opening that up. We've seen it in thinner kind of variations as well, with a little bit of a thin wall you could punch out. But it's a nice little change rather than just opening up the footholes, because this also gives you an opportunity to fight while standing.
Well, steady approach coming down, and this is where they seem to get bottlenecked pretty consistently. They wanted to do the same take over and over, which is fair play, but they couldn't quite get the lockdown on the control of this push round onto the freezer the same way that they wanted to. And here, it seems like Virtus.pro are making sure it's just as uncomfortable to swing in. The pace of the control upstairs is still going aplomb, but then they found themselves a little bit shuttered by the pace that they could apply on the close down and collapse itself. The hatch opened, fine. They've been able to do this every single time. It's unfortunately the next step that proves the problem, which is get in and get control of the site itself. No bodies dropped as of yet, and about to hit the minute mark. It's still looking pretty good for Virtus.pro, but Empire can capitalize and collapse on a dime, so is that the coin they're looking for?
And this is kind of the thing, right? You only see one person on site, and that is due to all the vertical holes that are being created. Other people are in bakery, small bakery, up in Kochak, maybe even in the bar and in VIP. You just see one person playing behind the B-bomb. That's Pasha. That's the only, relative safe site there is. The only way that there's no angle to be found, and you can directly contest a potential hatch drop, which is often the intention when you're trying to go for these kind of takes. However, you do see the rotation coming out right now. Empire looking to go for a small bakery/bakery take. However, what they do not know is that there's 2 players around here. WTG, however, needs to be careful as he gets that first kill. The Selma will still go off, however, and that means they have an opportunity to try and contest, but they still lost the first man.
Well, Scyther is looking to try and apply the approach, and this is the first time they've diversified, and this is the first time they're starting to find this opening success, but only 10 seconds left on the board, and it's a 4 versus 3. Echo is gone, and so is Milan. There is Pasha, making sure he can keep some control down the long corridor. 4 seconds. Kajeka gets the diffuser carrier and gets the second swings round. Virtus.pro for the second time on this kitchen. Get it at the dying second.
Very well played right there. The Alva just not stopping that fire. We'll be taking down both on, either on both angles right there. A little bit of mistiming maybe. They should have been aware of one in the corner. Maybe they had no drone. I'm not quite sure. But if they did know, it is not synchronized well, that push. But credit where credit is due. VP managing to hold on to that side. Time was running low. Empire needed to move quicker. Of course, they suffered the entry loss, but they were able to quickly strike back with 2 of their own. And right now, VP find themselves at yet another match point. They can end the here. They can take home 2 points today, which is probably not what they wanted. They probably wanted to get 3, but beating Empire will be for them quite important, as that is, of course, a regional rival. You kind of want to be the best of your region. Slightly.
Just a little. I mean, no, those football fans out there, nothing beats Derby Day. There's no other atmosphere like it. There's something special about a Derby Day. And that is this for these two teams. That is their showdown, their kind of, continental pressure that they want to apply to each other. And I know you pointed it out earlier, Scyther and Milan are both putting up big numbers for either team and really just finding that continual aggression against the opponents. You got to give credit for them to really dragging this one to the dying throes, finding success both on attack and defense, really kneecapping those players and taking them out of the equation could and probably has led to some of the success of the previous rounds for either team.
Well, it was Virtus.pro who chose to start an attack on the overtime. No, it was actually Virtus.pro chose to start on the defense. Excuse me, I saw Empire starting twice on both the sides on the attack, and well, so far it might not be really helping them out. VP manages to get the first round in. It's basically a 50-50. Doesn't matter what side you're on, who wins that round. And well, as we are going to Empire Kitchen right now, I'm quickly going to be scrolling back to see how often they won that defense. I can see it once so far. That was round number 8. That was the time Empire won it. They haven't won it since. VP won it the other time, so they have a 50% win rate so far. So there's like a 50% chance that Empire is going to be able to bring it to 7-7 here. Otherwise, VP are going to be able to run away with the 2 points.
Close angles and almost suffer instantly in the coat room, but it's Dan that gets dropped. Pasha, well, skin of their teeth, and Joystick is going to see if he can get the rest of them, but there's not much left, and now there's drones trying to pick apart, but maybe missed drone. Maybe Joystick has slipped past and might be able to apply some pressure here, as in a death-defying situation, and if goes unchecked, could really pull apart some of the pressure and the progress that's being applied here. There it is, there's the suffer, there's the diffuser, but there is also Karjeka with the hard destruction, goes for the second, can't quite make it land. Rask trying to apply some pressure from before, swings close, doesn't see them, does! Joystick goes down, Scyther in the meantime, Virtus.pro a 4 versus 2, no hard destruction left, but only 2 defenders, 1 C4 between the pair of them, and otherwise just a lot of pressure that can be applied. A frag grenade brings us to just 1, always. All that is left against the onslaught of Virtus.pro on the main door finds 1, swings with the SMG to try and get control of the body that's rotating around the small prep room on the opposite side, but with Freezer under pressure too, they can't quite take it. Pasha pulls it together and Virtus.pro pull the 2 points.
Virtus.pro able to win that one, and I have to say that opening kill from Pasha onto Dan is really important. They didn't drone him out in code check there. They didn't know he was there. They ran in. He messed up the kill then that was. He could have gone for a double there and was punished for it. VP got the opening frag. Yes, of course, afterwards, we saw a little bit of a change coming in. We saw the refrag from the exact same position. But again, it was replied onto by the side of VP. And VP managed to win this matchup with Milan.